We're called Vortex Paranormal Society. We started about a year ago.
I guess our slogan is to prove what we know exists. But as we're getting into this more and more, we realize that it's probably impossible to prove to the world that there is stuff here. Because I have, like, my voice recorders in my pocket right now in my jacket. I have an EVP that I caught up here last week Sunday. I know it's an EVP because I hear it. I know that there is nothing else going on to me. But if I were to play it back for 100 people, they could say, no, that's someone you had talking into that recorder. It started for me when I was probably like 12, I'd say. I was in my basement alone, and I felt something behind me, and it was like midnight, maybe 1 o'clock in the morning. I turned around. I still know what it is to this day. I've seen it probably 5 times. It was about an 8-foot tall figure, black, completely blacked out, hooded, and it was staring at me like with shoulders that were just like this. And it had no eyes, but it was facing me. I could tell. And it was probably, I don't know, 8 feet behind me. And I thought I was crazy. I started crying. I froze in fear, ran upstairs, told my parents. Well, I saw it probably like 4 or 5 more times. I still know what it is to this day. I don't know what it wants. It won't talk to me. So that's just kind of how I got started in it, because I thought, well, if there's nothing, if my parents say there's nothing out there and I just saw something, well, something's not adding up. So then I got into research for myself and did some unofficial investigations for a couple years with people, just fun, I guess, on the side. And then I started this group so that I could do official business and we could actually go in and help other people understand what's going on.
I decided I wanted to get into the investigation side of this because the house I grew up in had a lot of strange activity in it. You know, growing up, there was tons of unexplained things in the house that I lived in. I want to say it was like 8 years ago, my great-grandmother passed away and we inherited a statue of an angel from her. It was an angel statue that she had had since she was born. My mom put it in our entertainment cabinet, and right next to where it was, there was a chair kind of facing outwards, not facing towards it. Every morning, the statue would be facing the chair, like as though somebody had moved it so they could sit in the chair and look at it. The statue itself weighed at least 5 pounds.
And one of our other investigators named Craig, he's more of a, I wouldn't say skeptical, but he came into the group with no experiences, just a really open mind. So that to me is good enough. If you have an open mind, that's great. So they lived kind of by a cemetery. So they kind of thought maybe the experiences in their houses had to do with the cemetery. So we went in there. We actually got an EVP of one of our other investigators said, is there anyone here that wants to hurt us? Because it felt very dark. And you hear a really low growling, like a, yes, I do. And I mean, obviously we didn't hear it at the time. We heard growls, we heard like what sounded like big things being thrown into dirt ground. It was thuds and growls. And we're going to eventually go back with someone that has more experience in demonic entities, because I personally believe that's what's going on, because as we were leaving, we heard another growl, and Craig, my other investigator, says, my back's really hot. And I was like, I know what this is. So I'm an EMT, I didn't want to freak him out. I was like, okay, let's just keep going, Craig. I was like, I'll take a look at it in a minute. And he's like, really, there's something going on with my back. Well, I pulled over and I had to look at it. He has scratch going down the side from up here all the way down. And then he had another one that sliced the side, but it was 3 claws. And with my medical training, it was fresh. It wasn't something that he could have done because the blood hadn't even coagulated to the point of like flaky scabs. It was still pink and it was kind of inflamed a little bit. So it had just happened and he had no nails. I mean, there was no explanation for it. I mean, that chalked up to personal experience, but we haven't really been back there since. I just want to help people because I'm in a situation where that big black figure, as I like to call him, I don't know what that is. I mean, if someone could help me with that, that'd be great. But I want to find out for myself and help people in residential areas that might be afraid of what's going on.